That's not it. So whether they are called APC or RAPC or NPDP or PDP, they are driven by this criminal quest for crass materialism. And that is the only ideology they understand. Any one of them who says otherwise should kindly tell us where they stand in their education policy. For example, if you're a liberal, you want to tell us that the environment should be opened up. People should have free education. If you're conservative, you should tell us that, look, the education is not cheap, you must pay for it. All of them, including APC, they will campaign on the platform of, we'll give you free education, we'll give you lunch in school, we'll give you heaven and earth. Once they get into power, by the way, have you forgotten that restructuring was one of the issues that they touted when they were looking for power? What has happened? When they discovered that people were eventually feeling there was a kind of nausea with the party, they formed the El-Rufai party, El-Rufai committee, and said they were going to talk about restructuring. Please, can you tell us where we are on that restructuring agenda of APC? The same group of people that were in that party, they're going to move to PDP as RAPC and tell us about restructuring, and we still believe them. For Christ's sake, why should these people think that we don't understand?
Okay, I was just taking my time to also, because usually when we talk about these things and say, oh, does the party have ideology? Do you have ideology? What made you shift to the next? I mean, there must have been something that drives. And most of the time when we discuss this, it seems as if in other climes this doesn't happen. I mean, a political party, once you're in, you're stuck there for life.
Exactly.
But the truth is that it's an ideology-funded organization, so to say, and ideologies are bound to change per human being. So at a certain point, what you could have believed along the way could change, and you begin to see why the other party makes sense with you. This is really what I want. I want where it's an all-inclusive atmosphere. I want where you are pro-life, or that is pretty much what, I'm trying to look at what the Republican and the Democrats might stand for, and you decide to switch over to the other party. Now, it has happened between the Labour Party and the Conservatives, the Tories in UK. I was going through it, and it's documented. That's the nice thing about that. It's well documented. That while you were in this party at this time to this time, at this point you moved to this party. I looked at the United States too, and there are several places where you have senators who want to leave the Republican to the Democrat. It happens.
Yes,
but in their own case, you must have a primaries. There is a right of primaries. So you don't just wake up, switch over, and go.
Exactly.
If you want to go, there must be a primaries. And if your people don't vote you back on that new party that you want to go, then you lose that position. And I think that's what we've tried to establish here several times in Nigeria too. So when there's a crossover like this, you expect to hear that there's going to be...
There's a vacant seat.
There's a vacant seat until elections have been conducted. But the by-elections will now show that you have been voted back. But on this premise, on a different party. Maybe that will settle and calm the nerves of so many Nigerians who say you're still with the party, and then you move to this and retaining where you are. But I haven't seen where a block comes off and say we're moving. Like what I was reading earlier, they said about 135 representatives and about 20 senators and 5 governors were supposed to have done what they would do today if Saraki still makes it to the National Assembly today. Now, if you're going to move a block en masse like that, at what point, which ideology, what bill makes you change your mind? Because I read through all this, and in so many cases, there's one, they don't agree with the abortion then that says it's 20 weeks, this is, for that I can't continue being with your party. Another says, oh, I don't like how you said the army must go to war here. This is why I'm leaving. So let's go. But I'm looking for what is driving these people to go.
Pockets.
Yes, I think that you also consider the fact that Nigerian politics is also woven around personalities, individuals,
and funds.
Funds, just like Lord Ashafan said. Funds.
And then most survive on funds. That's the truth.
Who commands more of this fund? And so you have all those OES members who follow. They follow, just follow.
Anywhere, it's not a political party.
It's not a political party. Anywhere Ndukwe is.
Don't fund it.
Anywhere we are, we follow.
So you
see, and that is what is also affecting internal democracy of political parties in this country. And that's why we have all these abracadabra, somersault in political parties. That's why. So individuals now command that kind of monumental influence in a party. If it's not coming from, and of course that's why you have this concept of godfatherism, loyalty, which are quite devastating in our country, in our economy.
I know that because you said you have an appointment by 11, so let me just quickly run this by you. Now, we complain that this is what we see within our structure in Nigeria, where the parties don't seem to have ideologies, or where it's like an open affair, come in and feed your pockets and go. You particularly said what we need to do is change the leaders, or change the entire block. But people are looking at the new parties that are emerging, and they are also wondering what really are the ideologies upon which these new parties with new faces are based on.
Yeah. You see,
so are we even still getting it? Are we still missing it with the new parties and the new faces?
No, the point I was trying to achieve is that the country is for the people, and the people will determine who will rule them. One of the ways to do that is to resist. We must have a culture of resistance in this country.
What are we resisting?
Whatever they do. Okay. If they do anything that we think is not in sync with what we think can move this country forward, we should have the boldness to go to the street, spread our mat on the road, and sleep there overnight without being violent. Once they understand that we will say no, they will think twice about who they put forward. The reason they bring all manner of people is because we are docile. The days of docility should be over. Every Nigerian must be active, and we must resist in a civil manner to say no. Now, when you talk about evolving ideology, we probably may not have a clear-cut dichotomy of what we do now about liberalism and conservatism, but we can begin to look at the character of the people who are in governance and say no. For example, all the people that even when people canvass the view that political party is funded by anybody, there is not one of them you will show me that made his money in business. These are people who held public office, fleece the nation, and become lords. And we must say no to that. So beyond the issue of liberalism and conservatism, we must look at the character of the people who are getting into office. And if they do emerge by any means, and we are convinced that we didn't put them there, we go to the street and sleep there. You recall that in Romania, I think it was last year or so, when the politicians tried to make a law that would forgive people who had fleeced the nation. The masses, there was no violence. They went to the street and stayed there for 2 weeks. The law was reversed. We need active participation in Nigerian politics, not through representation, but through resistance. That's what I'm asking for. And I've done this in my life in the little way I can to resist. Secondly, Nigerians must realize that anytime a politician gives you a piece of meat, you have sold your future. So when they come to give us 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira to vote for them, we must throw it back at them and say, go away with your money and look for people of credible character amongst us in our society and lift them up, support them with even our own contribution. We want you to go to the House of Assembly because we are sure of who you are, not because of the ideology for now. And we are willing to put 5,000, 10,000 as a group of people to actualize that dream. Not because you're going to use that money to bribe people, but because we need to fund your campaign. We need to get you connected with the people, and people should also volunteer. That's the way to do. If we don't do this, it will not be possible for us to rescue this country from the brigandage that is going on in politics. And I'm sorry that we will continue groping in the dark for a very long time.
All right, Sado, thank you so much. It was great having you in the studio. And we would sadly allow you to leave, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Lord Asher Frank, now, when we keep spilling out ideology and all of that, one issue that you have strongly stood by has been funding. And if funding is still going to be a major issue, at several points, ideology and what you stand for will find itself buried because, well, money is what is driving the wheels of all of this. But how is it that other climes are able to see their political parties funded without the essence of money bags really pulling at the strings. I remember we had a conversation, or rather you were having that conversation. I wasn't part of it, but we're off mic then. And you were saying, but that's not true. You tried to look at what's going on in the United States, and you said, for you, Donald Trump's money was what got him the presidency. So we shouldn't look at what's happening here in Nigeria and think that this is just very different. Where the money bags go, you will find the people.
We always try to put the cart before the horse in Nigeria. That's my problem. Which background did people like us come from? Who came from the human rights background? We have been protesting and doing all that for over the years now. From student union to all that one. We did all that one. The fact is, you look at political parties that are 200 years old and you're looking at what they are doing now. Go to the history, how they began 200 years back. That is when you'll be authentic. You are looking at political parties that are 150 years old and you're looking at what they are doing now. Go back to 150 years ago and think of how they were formed. The most classical example that any person can know was that with all the ideas Karl Marx had, with all the experience he got from Professor Hegel, he couldn't bring it to reality until he had to go and meet a bourgeois. All right? Vladimir Lenin was a property owner, a bourgeois. He's not the kind of people that you will see him and Karl Marx fraternize. But there that he was doing his property business, he had sympathy for progressive ideas. And when Karl Marx met him, he put his money on the table. And that is how the Marxist literature was all over the world. Right? So, where did it come from? You have a political party 3 years ago, 5 years along the line. You are expecting so much. How does this evolve that way? First thing first, to form a political party is that people must have ideas. And those people that must have ideas will go sell the ideas to people who can fund it. At that point, your ideas will be diluted. Right? When it takes off, what will be your primary interest will be to capture power. Right? When you have done, then there will be conflict of interest that will play out within the organizations. If the bourgeois win, then you are going to have a conservative party. If the ideologues win, then you're going to have a progressive party. And that is how dialectical evolution of political parties have been from country to country, including those of the far left and of the far right. Now you have a system that is just coming up. What are you seeing? What you are seeing people moving up and down is, yes, I have this group of people that me and them had all our meetings here. We got these people to come and join us. We'll put something together. Somewhere along the line, maybe you have been drowned here. You leave. It is a matter of time. That kind of movement will stabilize. And then you begin to have things evolve. And that is why, for every critical analysis of the political equation, you will always understand the fact that why politicians are taking so much flack is because Nigerians have a way of having undue respect for people who wear uniform based on the experiences they have had. They want to talk less about those who truncated the system and what they did. Look at the case of the National Assembly, for instance. Throughout the era of military regime, the National Assembly never functioned. It never did. Even when Babangida did with all the elections, they never really started work before Abacha truncated the system. Right? So, at what point, when in 1999 the National Assembly came up, I know that even for them to do Hansard, they have to send people to London, to America. Right? To go and learn how to do Hansard. Right? It was not there. They have to make new rules for the National Assembly in 1999. Right? So, I'm a pragmatist. And I always believe that people must be realistic. And you don't expect too much, too short. That does not mean that, like every human endeavor where people conglomerate, that common criminals are not there, that those who come to fleece the system are not there. And that is why you need anti-corruption agencies to be able to check those systems. That's why you need strong security institutions to be able to check those systems. Because anywhere 2 or 3 are gathered together, there must be one Christ there and there must be one Judas there. So you cannot remove it completely. So invariably, what I am saying is that society have to move forward. But in the Nigerian experiment, based on where we are coming from, What we need is to see how we as Nigerians we sustain the system by not overstretching it so that it can evolve. Within the context of that evolution, all of us should be players. If you want to be demonstrating and sleeping on the road, no problem. But you can be demonstrating and sleeping on the road and associate with Green Party, for instance, because there's a Green Party in Nigeria. You can be doing one of those things you want to do, not in isolation, only you somewhere, because you must cross-pollinate ideas. You must come to the table because the country is not only yours. You must do it with people. So, for me, I don't see anything fundamentally wrong in people changing. And just like the laws you read out there, of course, when you have a concern in place, within the processes of your experience and within the processes of lawmaking, there are some of these things that will be brought in. There are some that will be removed. That is how it works. But for somebody to just assume that you formed a party yesterday, today you're already an ideologue as a party, tomorrow you're it's not done anywhere on planet Earth.
Okay.
Let me come in there quickly. The last speaker made reference to the fact that Marx had to meet Lenin, and he sponsored the, proliferation of his ideas. But you see, one thing is very significant there. That's the fact that Lenin was a bourgeois did not change the original idea of Marx. Good. And the fact that Lenin was a bourgeois did not influence. It's okay, because I am sponsoring this, you need to change this. Except for minor additions, particularly in terms of how revolution should be carried out. So, what is important is, what is your mindset in doing what we are doing? Because
regardless the money you're bringing
exactly, but that's not the case. No. But that's not the case in the case of Nigeria.
No, Abiola brought his billions to SDP.
No. Yes,
if SDP have not collapsed, it would have become a progressive party.
Let me finish.
No, you don't write everybody off without taking advantage of history.
Let me say. Yeah, so the issue is that your mindset, why am I doing what I'm doing? The basic idea behind what is what matters. And that, of course, will play out in your actions, your behavior. And because those who, according to him, those who sponsor political parties here have it that it's like a business venture. You are, it's like you are creating an empire for yourself. They see themselves as emperors. And so because I am contributing this money, okay, it's only me that will be the only lone voice in the wilderness. Every other person should quit behind me. And that's the problem. So if Marx had approached Lenin, who sponsored the proliferation of the idea, that it did not change the original idea of Marx. That's the point I want to make. And because that is not the mindset of those political godfathers who probably sponsor, parties, you see it turning to the point where they would not be, because I'm sponsoring this, so I am the godfather of this party. And so whatever thing I decide should go. And that is affecting the entire democracy of political parties. So it's not a good reference point to the point that in this country where you have, political parties that are supposed to perform basic fundamental roles, they are not doing that because they don't have a clear-cut trajectory based on ideology. And that's the point. That's why we are somersaulting the way we are doing.
Now, ultimately, will that mean, is it because they don't have vision? Because if you have a vision, you can draw a graph as to how you want to get there, which will shape your
Beautiful.
ideology.
If you don't have a vision, you may not have a mission. Your mission will not correspond with your vision. And so you become like a rudderless ship.
I certainly believe that the one that political party is formed, its ideology will be distinct.
Exactly.
And it does not take 50 years to form an ideology. While the years progress, you can
but you also agree with him that it's not just one day. It's a progression.
It's a progression, but not the ideology itself are the building blocks upon which parties differ from the other.
So what's the progression now?
The progression will be, like you were talking about, vision, but this time is mission. How to drive that your ideology to a conclusion. What happens in Nigerian politics? No ideology at all.
All right. We'll move on now.
Can I just add
Yes, let's just quickly announce this. I'll get to you.
Okay.
The time is 3 minutes after 11. It's time to get your thoughts on the issues we've been talking about. It started with Saraki and the drama surrounding him in recent times. The invitation by the police, IG, and then his house being surrounded, and the fact that he's also supposed to have set out his presidential beat.
Yeah.
And then also looking at the falling out, as it were, with the APC and the RAPC merging with the PDP. And I think the PDP says they're going to look for a new name now.
Yes.
All that coming out. And then the fact that they said, oh, this the defection will have happened today at the National